Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I've got a very fun layout to create with you all today, featuring the brand new painted garden collection from Creative Memories. And I've got the cover sheets there from both the paper packs, the Tone on Tone paper pack and the designer paper pack, and you can see just how stunning this collection is. I love the colors and hello florals. They're just so beautiful. It's a 2-page layout that I'm going to be creating for you all today, and it has a fun Easter theme. Now I am going to be working with the brand new Floral Peaks decorative border punch that released at the same time as the beautiful painted garden collection. But for this layout, I'm also going to encourage you to get some of your punches and border maker cartridges out of storage, out of your stash, and work with them to create some really cool effects. I'm going to work with the Field Fence border punch. Now this is still available from Creative Memories. I'm also going to work with the grass border maker cartridge. Now sadly this is no longer available, but there are lots of substitutes that you could use. You could just fringe cut if you prefer. You know how much I love fringe cutting. You could also work with the Wildflowers decorative border punch. This is still available on the Creative Memories website. So whatever you have on hand and you'd like to work with for your pages. As I said, there is a fun Easter theme to my pages and a little bit of a cottage garden vibe going on as well. You can see that I've layered lots of my punches down the bottom here. I've created a very cute bunny and also allowed for some room for some journaling as well. So whether this is going to be a spring layout or you're going to keep it to an Easter theme, whatever you like, it's lots of fun to create and very simple. So let's get started. Now first things first, I want to prepare my background pages, and I'm completely obsessed with this beautiful floral paper, and I think I would like to see about an inch wide frame around the border of my pages. So that I don't waste paper, I'm going to gut the center, and I have demonstrated this many times, but for those of you who are new here, I will show you again. I have my 12-inch Creative Memories trimmer with the straight blade in the housing unit. To the side of that housing unit, you can see we've got a little white line here about halfway through. That measures exactly 1 inch from the top of the housing unit to that line. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to line up my paper to 1.5 inches, and this won't cut until I push down on it. So I can safely bring that down to 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to hold that up and show you. So here's our 1.5 inch line here, and you can see that I've aligned this white line to that, and it's from there that I'm going to push down and make my first cut, but I'm going to stop when I get to 1.5 inches from the bottom. So just line that up. I can push down, and I'm going to stop at 1.5 inches from the bottom. You can see what that has done. It's going to start creating a frame, and we're removing the center from that paper so that we don't waste it. We can use that for something else. So again, I'm just going to bring that blade down to the 1.5 inch line, push down, and I can stop at 1.5 inches from the bottom. And you can see it's creating that lovely neat framed effect, and we're not going to you know, just waste a full sheet of paper for what is essentially just the border. So I'm just going to continue this exact same method until I've made my way right around this piece of paper. And we can remove the center. So that now can be used for another project. We haven't wasted it. And we'll be left with our beautiful floral frame, like so. I'd like to use this green paper from the Tone on Tone paper pack. It has sort of like a star or a diamond effect on the background. And because I know I want to see a good inch border of that floral paper, it means that I can cut this green paper down to 10 inches by 10 inches. Don't throw away these strips because they are very handy if you'd like creating borders or cards, so they're not going to be wasted. And we have our 10 by 10 square, which we can now adhere to the center of our floral paper. And if we line up this frame neatly on our 13 by 13 cutting mat, we know that we can align it so that we have a perfect inch border around that background. And because we've cut a 1.5 inch frame, it allows us to add a little bit of our tape to adhere this square down. Now I'm working with the repositional tape. If you've been scrapbooking with me for a while, you know it's usually, in most cases, my choice of adhesive, purely because, you know, if I want to peel something off and reposition it, I can. The beauty of the repositionable tape is that once it is in place, it does become more permanent. So it just gives you flexibility when you're creating. And I'm making sure that I've aligned each corner so that it has a perfect 1 inch frame. And that's prepared the first of our background pages. Now I'm just going to repeat that exactly the same for my second page. So using the exact same technique, this is what both of our background pages look like together. And I think it looks fantastic having that wider border strip showcasing our floral paper that I love so much. But we know that we haven't wasted it because we've been able to gut the center of that page. Now we're going to work on layering our different decorative borders. So we can sit these to the side now. And I'm going to bring in this beautiful paper here with the Floral Peaks decorative border punch, and just very simply I'm just going to unlock that there. I'm just going to line up, you can see you've got some little markings here on your punch, so I'm just going to line up the edge to that little line on the left hand side, and I'm going to punch. Very straightforward. And just going to match up the design there to the left and keep punching all the way along. Sometimes you have got to be a little bit extra careful with these lacy type punches because they can get caught a little bit within the punch. So just be careful as you're removing that paper to slide it along. Just take your time. And that way you're not going to have that catch in any way. But doesn't that give a really pretty finish? I think it's beautiful. Okay, so I've punched all the way along. What I'm going to do now is just bring in my 12-inch trimmer. Actually, I should get rid of my confetti there. So bring in my 12-inch trimmer, and I just want to remove this punch strip, and probably, I don't know, I'm lining up the top of, you know, the punched edge there, and it's at about 1 3/4 of an inch. So we're just going to have a strip like so. And now that I've trimmed that edge, just going to repeat that step exactly the same as what we did for the first. And once you've punched all the way along that side edge again, I'm just going to line that up to around 1 3/4 of an inch and trim that off. So we've got our first 2 strips that we're going to work with. I'm going to bring in my border maker system, and the cartridge of course will just slide into this housing unit till it clicks. And we've got the paper bracket here as well. Now I'm just going to insert this green paper into the paper holder here. So I'm just going to align it into this little arm here nice and evenly, push down that blue arm and fold that bracket back. And then I can come in with my punch, which will just slot in nicely, and I'm just going to punch all the way along. The border maker system would be one of my most favourite tools from Creative Memories. Gives you a lot of options in your creating. Get these little offcuts out of the way. Alrighty, so I'm going to trim this down a little as well. I'm probably at about 2 inches. And I'm just going to repeat that step again, punch a second one for our second page. Just going to trim that down about 2 inches wide. I'm going to bring in another piece of paper now. This one is darker to that first green that we used. And I'm just going to repeat this same process and cut 2 more strips with my grass border maker cartridge. And I don't think I need to cut this as wide, so let's just say at about 1.5 inches. So we can repeat that for our final strip now. We're almost there for all of the punching that we need to do. And really we're not using a lot of our papers because they're only very thin strips that we're going with. And we'll trim this one down to about 1.5 inches wide as well. Like so. Next, I'm going to bring in my field fence punch. I love this punch. And I'm going to work, I ummed and ahed as to what colour that I was going to work with for this, but I've actually brought in some of my hot fudge cardstock. I think the bronze shimmer would work really well for this, so you suit yourselves, but I'm going to work with the hot fudge because I just wanted a little bit of depth with the colour. I do want my fence to stand out really well. I'm just going to punch all the way along. You can see we'll be left with the coolest little fence. I just love it. All right, now you can see from where we've punched on our cardstock, we've been left with these little nodules. So if we just clear our confetti out of the way, you will need to trim those off. So just the smallest strip off your cardstock, just so that we've got a straight edge to work with for our second punch. And we can do the exact same thing again. All right, so we've got to customize these a little bit before we can start working with them. Now, because we know we've cut the inside layer of this paper to be 10 inches by 10 inches, that means we've got to cut our borders down just that little bit. So I've just laid them both together, and I've got to remove 2 inches from the length of those so that we know they'll fit perfectly across our background page. So it's just that little bit, and I'm going to do the same with both the grass strips. Just remove 2 inches off the length. And the same for our fences, although I'm not going to layer these together. Just line up that edge. Can be a little bit trickier with the fence, but just get it as straight as you can. So I'm bringing back in my background paper just one at a time, and we can start layering our borders together. So we've got our Floral Peaks border strip that I want to add first. Then I want to layer the grass just to the top of that. Then we'll have the lighter green grass, which you can see here. Now it's completely up to you how high you want to take your border. You can scooch them down a little bit. And then we can add our little fence over the top there. And I think that looks really pretty. So when you're happy with that, we can adhere them down. Now I've just layered my Floral Peaks border strip 1 inch up from the bottom line on my cutting mat. I'm just going to add a little bit of my repositionable tape. And I can layer my first grass strip over the top, like so. So it's just peeping out the top of that grass. Next we can add our second grass strip. Like so. And I was a little bit too heavy-handed with the repositionable tape there, but that's okay because I can just rub my finger over that and that will remove any of that was in the wrong spot. Another reason to love the repositionable tape. So next we can add our little fence, and that will go over the top like so. And I think I'm really happy that I used the hot fudge cardstock because it does stand out really well. So we can stick that down like so. Now I'm not going to add it to my page just yet because I want to make sure that creating my second border, I'm going to get it to the exact same width as this first one. So I know I can align that first Floral Peaks border here 1 inch up from the bottom. And then we can stick the first layer of grass. And we just want to make sure, yes, that's perfect, that we've got it in the exact same spot. They're the exact same width there, so that's perfect. Just rub away any repo tape. And we can finish by sticking our field fence punch strip in place. We've got our two borders that we can now come in and we can add these to the base of our page. So it's just going to sit right on that bottom edge there. And the same for our second page. So we've got our two background pages prepared perfectly. So now it's time to talk bunny. I'll just sit that to the side. Now you're going to need some of your custom cutting templates. You're going to need your largest circle, your medium circle, you're going to need the small heart, and you're going to need the second largest oval. And with your cutting blades, you're going to need both the red and the green cutting blades. Now, you can use whatever paper you like to create your bunny. I'm actually going to use yellow. Now, if you've been creating with me a long time, you know my motto, and that is if it looks cute, it doesn't need to make sense. And I don't think I have seen a yellow bunny. However, I'm making mine yellow today. I just feel white would get a little lost on the page, plus this paper's just so cute. This is what I want to work with my bunny. Now I've got my second largest oval and I'm going to work with my red blade for this. However, I don't need to cut a full oval. So what I'm going to do, I've just lined up the bottom of my paper to a straight line on my 13 by 13 cutting mat. And I'm just going to line up, you can see the inside track here at the base of that inside oval. I'm just lining that up to the base of the paper. Okay, so the inside edge of that inside oval is lined up to that bottom edge. Just going to hold that in place, and just with my red blade, I'm going to cut round the outside edge, like so. Next, I'm going to take my largest circle, and I've got my green blade, and we need to cut one circle from the inside track. I'll line that up. So there's one. Okay. Next, I'm going to take the small heart, and we need the red blade again. I think that will fit. And we're just going to cut around the outside track with the red blade. Like so. And that's all we need from the yellow paper at the moment. So we can set that to the side. All right, next I'm just going to bring in a scrap of my white cardstock that I have here. And we're going to need the medium circle with our green blade, and you need to cut one from the inside track. Like so. And that's all the cutting we need to do for the moment. So we can set these all aside. I will cover my blades because I don't want to injure myself in any way. There we go. All right, so we do have just a small amount of freehand cutting to bring our bunny to life. So with the body, you can see we've got these fairly sharp corners here. I'm just going to round them out just the smallest amount with my scissors. Tiniest amount, like so. And we have our head that will go over the top there. Now the heart we need to cut in half. So just straight up through the middle to the arch of the heart, like so. So you're going to have two halves that look like this. These are going to be our ears, and I'm just going to freehand cut and just round them out a little bit just to remove where that arc was with the heart. Okay, now if you wanted to, once you've done the first one, you can turn that over so that both right sides are together, and this will just make it easier for you and you get them exactly the same. Just going to use the first one as the template. You can see it was just the smallest amount that we've rounded out there, and you'll get them both the same, and they're going to be our bunny ears, which we'll tuck in behind the head like so. Now we are doing the back side of a bunny today, not the front, so we don't need to worry today about facial features, but we can indeed add our little bunny tail. Now if you wanted to, just for a little bit of interest, you all know how much I love fringing. I'm just going to fringe cut all the way around my little bunny tail. I'm probably going in about, oh, I don't know, ½ an inch from the edge, just all the way around, and it's just going to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of dimension to your bunny. Now I'm just going to go in and just remove just a little corner here and there, all the way around. Just breaks up that edge a little. It's going to make it look a little fluffy, like a fluffy little bunny tail. They're all just such tiny little details that make a really big difference. And that will be stuck there as our little bunny tail. That was so simple. Okay, so we've cut the shapes for our bunny, we've got our border in place, so now we can talk photos. I've got 5 places here for photos at different sizes. Please note you can use whatever size you like and as many photos as you like, or as few photos as you like, whatever suits the theme for your page. But I have 3 photos here. The photo mats measure 6 by 4. And then the photos will be cut to 5.75 by 3.75. Then I've also allowed for 2 4x4 photo mats, and the photos will be trimmed to 3.75 by 3.75. So once you're sort of happy with where you've positioned everything, we can go ahead and get these stuck down into place. Okay, so I'll move that to the side and we can bring back in all the little pieces for our bunny. Now, first things first, I'm going to adhere his body to the base of the page. So rather than to the bottom of our border strip, I am going to take it down right to the bottom edge of the page. Now with my little bunny tail, I'm going to use a couple of foam squares to stick that into place, just to give that little bit of extra dimension, like so. Next we can add our head, which we can overlap the top there. You want to just position your ears in place before you stick anything down, and when you're happy you can put them into place first. Like so, and then we can stick his little head down into place. Like so. So really all that's left to do now is to come in with our embellishments and add them to our page. I love this little tree stump die cut that I'd like to use, and I'm just going to layer that next to my little guy there. So, and it sort of has room there for you to be able to add a little title or whatever you like. But I want to layer in lots of these beautiful little flowers. I think we can sort of tuck them in behind our tree stump there. I'm just adding those foam squares to the top of the embellishment, like so. And then we can lay those to the top there. And I might go with My Happy Place. And we can bring in our second page and add some little embellishments to that as well. I love this little sun, which we'll add to the top of the page there. Also balances out the yellow that we've used for the rabbit, so we're bringing that tone over to our second page. We've got our sun. And on our sticker sheet, we've got some beautiful little flowers here, the little yellow ones, which I think would be nice layered here to the base. Like so. And how cute is this little garden sign? I can't resist adding that as well. I'll add that with some foam squares also. Alrighty, so I've added my embellishments to the page. I've got my little garden sign and my little bees. You can see here I've just trimmed some very thin strips of white cardstock, and this will be to allow me to add some journaling to my page. I've also just tucked one of the little tag embellishments in behind this photo, but I did cut it down first, so it was the same as this tag, and I've just cut that top strip, so I'll be able to use the other end of it in another project, but I just thought it added a nice balance. And I'm just going to add a little baker's twine bow to that tag to finish that off. Just tie it through the top there. And I've added the cute little sticker that says "A little birdie told me," which is so adorable. Trim those little ends. So that completes my Easter themed double page layout for today. I really hope you've enjoyed watching me create it, and perhaps you give it a try for yourselves. The bunny is just so easy, and I think it's really fun to bring out some of your older punches and mix them with the new ones to create some really cool effects with all of your layering. Don't forget that if you like my video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. It really does help my channel a lot. But for now, take care, and I will see you very soon. Bye.